All of these things also makes it difficult for children to completely follow through on instructions. Even though you can repeatedly tell them something, they may still miss a step or two along the way or get confused or mix it up, despite the fact that you went over it quite a few times. If you've noticed that your child is experiencing or exhibiting any of these symptoms, then please do go talk to someone, a professional, get some help, have them run the tests. When I say tests, I just mean they give them activities to do and things to work on that will better help you to understand and to give you an actual diagnosis as to whether or not your child does have ADD. And if so, there is always help. Now let's take a look at what it looks like in adults. Adults also have the same issue with being distracted. And as a result, they can easily be distracted when they're at work, and they prefer to work in quiet, private environments. They can also change jobs often, either because they get too bored, or they're fired due to tardiness, or not being able to complete tasks, or not being able to perform the way they're supposed to with their job. Tardiness or being late is not just applied to work, it can also be applied to things like paying bills, paying off credit cards, having debt, and as a result, they do end up in some financial problems because they're late when it comes to taking care of these fees. Now, adults with ADD doesn't mean that they can't enjoy things. What tends to happen is when they find something that they really like, that they're very interested in, they may get lost in that for hours on end, even if they have other activities to do. It might be very hard to pull away and get those done. But of course, if what they're doing isn't interesting enough or they don't like it, then you'll see that distractibility element where they may start a task or start a chore and they're unable to complete it. They move on to something else. They start that, they're still not completing that either. And then you end up finding that they have a bunch of partially completed projects or tasks or chores. And that's not just for work, it's even at home or in anything that they do. Forgetfulness is also an issue, and they can forget things from doctor's appointments to meetings with friends or having things to do at work or tasks that are given to them, especially if they didn't write it down. Now remember, we had mentioned that messiness being an issue also happens in adulthood, and so because there's that lack of organization, then things can get lost along the way, and even if they've written it down, then they can also forget. Too often, adults also procrastinate, lack that drive, don't have that motivation, and they're termed as lazy or an underachiever just because they're not getting done the things that should be done. And everyone, from the outside is saying, you have so much potential, you can get this done, but why are you not doing it? Why are you holding back? Why are you like this? And most persons don't tend to understand that, it's not that I'm choosing to be like this, I just am like this. That procrastination also comes when there's a task or a chore or anything at hand that requires sustained mental effort, and that's usually something that takes a lot from the person, and as a result, they also don't get it done. There are also persons that seem to be very unprepared because they're constantly forgetting things like keys or wallet or a cell phone. They don't know where they left it, or they're rushing, so they forgot to pick it up. And like I mentioned, not the most organized of persons. Persons with ADHD may also find that, persons are complaining to them and saying, hey, you're so forgetful, you don't remember things. And they'll be like, I often tend to forget a name, or I forget something somebody said, or they're looking at you and you're talking to them and they're literally zoned out and they're not being able to focus and pay attention to what you're saying, and they won't register a word that was said to them. At work, these persons may take longer than usual to complete assignments, or they may work slower than their co-workers, or they may be behind on tasks or due dates. Persons would have also commented that, hey, you seem to not be interested, you seem to be zoned out, you seem to be spaced out, especially when doing work or projects. This zoning out or spacing out doesn't just happen at work. They can be having a conversation with someone, talking to someone about something, and they will just go blank, zone out, and just miss parts of the conversation, not be able to focus. And even when they're talking to you, you'll find that maybe they've lost their train of thought, or they started somewhere and they'll say to you, hold on, what was I saying? Why was I saying that again? Or something came up, or if you said something in between in the conversation, they'll be like, I can't remember what I was saying. I don't remember where I was. And you'll find that forgetfulness aspect there a lot. So if you're someone who is struggling with ADD, or you think you know someone who has, please reach out for help, go to a professional, let them do the test they need to, let them diagnose you, and you can get help, you can take it from there. Living with ADD is not something very easy. It's really difficult to do. It affects your daily life. It affects everything that you do, including the relationships that you have with persons and the way you interact, and it can make life very difficult. So there is help. Do reach out. And until next time, guys, see you.